All right, let's dive into this. So his first play, you see Tremaine Edmunds, Mr. Edmunds. Let me change my little cursor here. You see Edmunds right in the center of the field. And this is basically going to be a Tampa 2 coverage from the Buffalo Bills. You're going to see Trey White come up. You're going to see Elam come up, but they're basically going to sit in the flats right here. And you're going to see Tremaine Edmunds come screaming back in the middle of the field. This is that Tampa 2. For anybody who's familiar with it, this is in relation to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, especially the Chicago Bears, where Brian Urlacher was that guy almost in the deep third, like playing like a deep third safety at times in this cover 2 look. Again, this is all based on regular cover 2. You would just have your linebackers here, but then you have that vulnerability in the center. So teams would attack that left and right. So what the Tampa 2 started to do was kind of slow play that middle and then also kind of, hit that deep third with it. But you need an athletic, rangy linebacker. And as Jordan says, same class. Yes, Roquan was taken earlier than Tremaine. I think Roquan was like a top 10 pick. He went, and then Edmunds was taken towards the back end of the teens when the Bills traded up. Good call. So let's look at this play from Tremaine Edmunds. Again, here he is, right in the center of your screen. I'm going to go back from the snap. Watch him on the ball. He drops. He turns and he looks to the inside slot receiver up top, right? He's watching. He's carrying. This is such a huge piece and it gets lost. Watch the fluidity in the hips as he opens to one side and opens to another. That may seem small. That level of athleticism and fluidity at that size is ridiculous. It's unicorn-like. But he drops back. He eyes the slot to the top, sees what's developing, knows that Taron's there. So he turns his eyes, or he turns his head, gets his eyes on the QB. He's watching Skylar Thompson, and then he eyes Mike Gesicki, picks him up, carries him downfield, takes an angle, and I know it's hard to see on this. He gets a piece on this ball. And on the live version, it looks like, Gesicki dropped it. Edmunds gets a finger on it, and it changes the trajectory of this pass. Let's watch from the end zone angle from Mr. Tremaine Edmunds. Skylar Thompson's faking the snap. Boom, there you go. Drops, takes the angle. He's eyeing that top side slot. Nothing. Again, now he turns. He's eyeballing Skylar Thompson. So he's reading Skylar Thompson. He also knows, obviously, the coverage that they're playing and where Taron Johnson is in relation to him. So he knows he can start to play to this left side a little bit, which is why he opens up his hips. But notice how he maintains that straight line. When he turns his hips, he turns the hips in a minute. He doesn't start drifting or getting off path. He maintains that straight line. That is straight practice technique that you practice all day. You will be on like the 25-yard line, and your defensive back coach, your linebackers coach will tell you to open and flip hips, and you're just trying to flip and stay on that line. They don't want you to drift. They don't want you, to waste steps. You're trying to stay streamlined right on that line. Watch as he drops. Straight drop, but then he's reading Skylar Thompson. He sees where his eyes are going. So where does his eyes go? His eyes go inside, and he sees Mike Gesicki, and he picks him up. Then he peeks back at Skylar Thompson, sees the ball coming, and this is where the size and the length come in, right? So you get the mental side, you get the processing, you get the athleticism that allows him to get back there, and then here comes the size and athleticism, and he just tips it past Gesicki. Again, in real time, you're sitting there thinking, oh, well, he dropped this pass. Not true. Edmunds gets the slightest finger on it, changes the trajectory of the ball. Oh, this play is not normal or easy. I think, and I don't even know if Fred Warner finishes it because he doesn't have the length and the size that Edmunds does, but this play can maybe be made by like 3 or 4 more linebackers, tops, literally tops. And one of them is Fred Warner. Like, Warner is a monster in the middle of the field for that Niners defense. But just look at the athletic pterodactyl in the middle of the field. Just that hip turn. I'm gonna keep rolling in fast motion. Look at the hip turn. Drop, eyeball, flip, eyeball, diagnose, drop, boom. Absolutely tremendous from Tremaine Edmunds. And again, like Spence talked about, the Bengals are going to try and attack that middle of the field, right? If they're putting Jamar Chase in the middle of the field, if they're putting, Hayden Hurst in those explosive opportunities to take advantage of the middle of the field, like we saw against the Bills early on in that game against the Bengals, but like we saw multiple times against the Baltimore Ravens, Edmunds is coverage sound responsibility in the interior is going to be tremendously important, whether it's, carrying guys downfield or matching and picking up the number 3 or potentially number 2 receiver coming in the middle of the field. His processing is going to be so important. So I wanted to highlight this because it was a tremendous play from him, but also this is going to be of the utmost importance for the Buffalo Bills against the Cincinnati Bengals, who are going to try and work that interior of the field. And when you have a quarterback who doesn't have the strongest arm like Joe Burrow, he's a phenomenal quarterback, but he doesn't have the strongest arm. If you can tighten those windows and shrink those passing windows with your athleticism or your size or your speed, it makes life more difficult. Yeah, and as Eric says, wow, nice play. Phenomenal play from Tremaine Edmunds. Truly very, very, very good. Let's go to another one now. We're going to go to this Taron Johnson play. I'm going to work through here. There's Taron Johnson right here in the slot. This is the punch on Jalen Waddle when he punches this ball out of Waddle's hands. So you're going to see man coverage up top from the Bills zone. It looks like to the bottom they're playing a bit of their combo coverage here. Potentially could be man to the bottom if you're thinking, okay, Trey is manning up on the running back coming out of the backfield, but in essence, he's sitting back, dropping, so it's functioning like zone at the bottom. They're running man up top. Here's Taron in trail against Jalen Waddle, who is so fast. Waddle's got the step on him, right? Bit underthrown. Here's Waddle high pointing the ball right here. Watch Taron punch right through when Waddle brings those hands down. Tremendous timing, tremendous hand-eye coordination. We're going to show it from the end zone angle. I wanted to highlight this because plays at the catch point have been something that have plagued the Bills defense seemingly since they came out of the bye week. We've seen it from everyone. We've seen Taron have bad luck, Dane Jackson, Kyer Elam, Trey White, a multitude of their players, not in this game against the Dolphins. We saw double-digit pass breakups from this team. We saw Tremaine Edmunds with several. We saw Taron Johnson with one here. We're going to show you one of Tre'Davious White. We saw one from Kyer Elam. We're seeing pass breakups left and right. The Bills defense making plays on the ball was tremendously important in this game against Miami. It's going to be of the utmost importance again against the Cincinnati Bengals. You are going up against legitimate ball winners in Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and even Tyler Boyd, even Hayden Hurst, guys who either have size or speed or athleticism or all of those things together in one package. So making plays at the catch point and on the ball is going to be of the utmost importance. Waddle gets behind Taron here. Now watch, he has to go up. He elevates, right? Fine play right here from Waddle. High points the football. Johnson knows he's beat. Waddle brings this ball down, and that's when Johnson, bang, punches it out. He waits for him to bring this ball down after he high points it. This is exactly what Jalen Waddle, what you're taught to do. You go up, you high point the football. Don't let the ball come to you in traffic. You go up, you take it out of the air. Jalen Waddle does that. But as he brings it down, Taron knows, like, okay, he's going to bring this ball down. Let me time it and punch right through his hands as he tries to secure this catch. And he punches that right out. Absolutely beautiful, brilliant play from Taron Johnson. I'm going to run it in real time one more time so you can see this piece. Catch, and you can see his hands come down, and it gets punched right out. Go to the end zone angle again, one more time. I just love this play. I just want to play it one more time and be able to see it. High point the football from Waddle, bang, punch out. The timing and the technique and the awareness that you have to have on that play, stunning from Taron Johnson. Now, let's go to another stunning pass breakup. Mr. Tre'Davious White, again on Jalen Waddle. Funny how that works. So here's Trey up at the top. This is another one. Waddle gets behind him, which I don't even think is negative for Taron or Trey or really anybody. The Dolphins' speed at wide receiver is, I don't even need to talk about it. Like, we know it's unreal. Tyreek Hill is probably the fastest player in the NFL. And Jalen Waddle is probably, at worst, top 10. Also, maybe top 5. Like, they both can fly. They both can cook. Waddle gets behind Trey White here. But watch the recovery speed. That's a huge piece, right? We're going to start with the recovery speed first. Watch it in slow-mo. You think here, granted, Skylar Thompson underthrows this ball a little bit, which is fair. But we've been talking about Tre'Davious White's health. And granted, his knee is going to come into play more with stop-start technique. But look at him close the gap, chase this down, and then the punch-out at the end. Again, we're going to focus on the punch-out in a minute, but just focus on how Waddle gets by him. Trey White gets on his giddy-up. runs this down, makes a play on the ball. Now, let's watch the play on the ball piece, right? So Trey is watching Jalen Waddle, waiting for him to make a play on this ball. Jalen tries. He gets somewhat close to kind of late handsing this, and this is why you try to catch the ball with late hands. So if the defender is watching you watch the ball, when you go to reach for the ball, they're going to reach out and try and punch through your hands or break up that pass in some way. So if you don't reach out until the very last minute and, use late hands, the defender has less of an opportunity to kind of see what you're going to do. You don't telegraph your move as much, right? But Waddle reaches there, and the timing is unreal from Tre'Davious White. Again, we'll look at it from the sideline angle. Right as he goes up for it, you see Trey start to reach. You can see his lower body because he's reaching and already trying to punch through. That is simultaneous. The ball doesn't even get into Waddle. On the previous play with Taron Johnson, Waddle had it and brought it down, and Taron punched through. That doesn't even the opportunity doesn't even exist for that one here because White times it perfectly. You can see the ball right here on the outside. It's not in his hands. It's functionally out. Another amazing play at the catch point. Also really good recovery speed, like I mentioned, but just unreal timing. Unreal timing from Tre'Davious White to have that piece. Oh, I got to stop. I saw a super chat. Oh, this is awesome. John, you've been awesome and super supportive all night with really good comments, questions, trying to get everybody to drop more likes. So I just appreciate you in general. But thank you so much for the super chat and the donation. And John also says, great content and superb chat to hit that 100 likes. Keep it going. That's awesome, folks. I really appreciate the hell out of everybody for dropping 100 likes. Let's, ride this thing until the wheels fall off. More likes, more, insatiable. There's never enough likes. But sincerely, thank you very much for the 100 so far. Let's keep pushing forward. And thank you very much for the super chat, John, and the very kind words. Yeah, watch. We'll finish this play here and start to move on to our next. Unreal timing from Trey to punch that ball out. And you're going to need that. Joe Burrow is going to give his receivers opportunities to win. And honestly, it works out more often than not for him. When you've got T. Higgins and you've got Jamar Chase and you've got Tyler Boyd, and again, even Hayden Hurst, like you throw the ball up, those dudes have the ability to take 50-50 balls and make it like 60-40, 70-30 balls, which is ridiculous. No matter where they are, they give you an opportunity to have a pretty successful shot at winning the ball. Huge piece. Huge piece. This one, next play. I talked about it earlier in this episode. The Bills' pass rush from the front four perspective, I know it was somewhat lacking. I know people were concerned a bit. I know there's some more confidence potentially in the pass rush going into this game. Biggie Scooby comes in and says the Bengals' depleted O-line will break down and Burrow will get sacked 9+ times. That would be, wow. That would be absolutely tremendous. Arcadius comes in and says the front four are going to have to get at Burrow. Absolutely. We talked about it earlier in this episode, the importance of the Bills being able to have numbers and coverage, and they're only going to be able to do that if they can get pressure with the front four and also fit the run with the front four in their light boxes. But I digress. I know fans were left a bit wanting in terms of just production from the front four without blitzes or without simulateds or creepers in that game against Miami. But the front four, like I mentioned earlier, were dominant against the run. And I wanted to highlight this play from Shaq Lawson here. See him on the edge at the top. I have him highlighted again. There's Shaq, the top edge right there. Watch him basically shut down this run all by himself. Gets into Taron Armstead, shuts down the run. Now the Dolphins sideline is pissed, and rightfully so, because I'll show you here. Ahmed should have taken this outside. Like, follow your fullback. Here's your fullback right here, Mr. Alec Ingold. Follow your fullback. Go to the outside. But Shaq does enough in getting into Taron Armstead. So Taron Armstead is trying to reach Shaq and either push him the hell out or get him, reach him, and seal him. So that way it's just a clear and nice, easy convoy going around the edge. Shaq doesn't allow that to happen because of the play that he makes here. He steps inside, but he gets right into Armstead, and then he starts driving, and he moves towards it. He reads the path of the ball carrier and the path of the ball. He understands the toss action and what's happened on the outside. So he doesn't even get his helmet to the outside. He gets like half of his entire body to the outside, which is what influences Ahmed to be like, you know what? Let me have to cut it back. And then he cuts it back, and Shaq completely sheds Taron Armstead and makes this play. This is literally like a one-man gang stopping a run all by himself. And yes, I know Taron Armstead is banged up, and Ahmed should have taken this ball outside, but that's a really good run defense rep from Shaq Lawson, making it hard on Ahmed. Again, we'll look at it from the sideline angle. You can see the space that's there on the outside. He should have taken it. And then you have a pretty advantageous look. You got Ingold coming up and fitting on Poyer. Who knows what happens there? Ahmed definitely, again, should have taken this outside, but Shaq muddied this read. You can see the hesitation in Ahmed's feet and decision-making because he's like, okay, let me cut this inside. And he cuts right into Shaq because Shaq sheds his man. That type of ownership was seen rep after rep. We saw from Shaq, Daquan Jones, Groot, AJ Epinesa had a couple of good run defense reps. Ilianku had a couple good ones. Tim Settle had a bunch of good ones. Basham even had a couple. Like the whole defensive line was really sound and physical and violent against the run in this game. And it was a huge bonus as they forced Miami to really put everything onto Skylar Thompson. We're going to look at another run defense rep now for the Buffalo Bills. Oh, good comment here from John. John saying Shaq is deserving of a contract. We would be in trouble without him. He's basically become the de facto starter since Vaughn went down. He's seen an uptick in snaps, and he's that guy, especially on early downs that they lean into. But you're seeing him in pass rush situations as well. But yeah, he's been absolutely tremendous. They've had to lean on him once Von Miller went down. He's been a calming presence. He's physical. He's violent. He brings a bit of bite and swagger to this defense. Really tremendously encouraging performance we've seen from Shaq, and we'll see what happens with him going forward. I want to bring up this comment from Jordan. He says, those stomps on the sideline. Yeah, that's in reference to, actually, let's go back and look at it and just see, kind of how funny it is. Watch how mad the Dolphins sideline is. Here we go. Take it outside. Oh, no, go inside. They're all just mad. That's when you first I remember seeing it on the, during the game as well. And I was like, ooh, and I want to see this on the game tape. Again, I give credit to Shaq for forcing that play to happen there. But yeah, Ahmed should have taken that outside. But nonetheless, here's a good play again, run defense-wise. This one, there's a little bit of trickeration. This is a reverse to Tyreek Hill. I have 3 players highlighted for their performance on this play. Daquan Jones in the center here. Shaq Lawson up at the edge again. And then Mr. Tremaine Edmunds second here, or at the second level in the off-ball linebacker position. So watch Shaq up here and Daquan Jones, how effective they are at making Tyreek Hill widen on this rep. Shaq reads it the whole way and he stays home. Daquan Jones just gets real good penetration and gets so far upfield. Tyreek Hill has to widen around both of them, and they basically effectively drive him to the sideline. And then we're going to see Tremaine Edmunds absolutely fly to this ball. So see the first piece on the jet. There is a ton of space for Tyreek Hill. And it's all negated because Shaq stayed home and Daquan Jones is getting upfield. So going slow-mo, that's Daquan Jones right here. Look at him get upfield to the point that Hill has to widen. He has to take a huge wide arc. Shaq is giving him problems too, forces him to the sideline, and then there's Tremaine Edmunds. I want you folks to watch Tremaine Edmunds again. Right here, he's the man circled. Watch the speed. The sideline to sideline speed from Tremaine Edmunds. He's booking it. He's cutting this thing off. Again, help defense from Shaq and Daquan. Really good athleticism from Tremaine Edmunds. A nice team defense piece against an opportunity to create a genuinely and legitimate explosive play. And it gets shut down because of sound technique, because Shaq stayed home, Daquan stayed home. And then you get really good range and read and processing from Tremaine Edmunds to cut this thing down. Good rep. One more time from the sideline angle, or from the end zone angle, I should say. Watch Shaq on the edge here. Come off. And he's like, wait a minute, something's not right. Look at him. He's eyes in the backfield. He's got a good base. He's literally reading this play out, seeing what's going on. He's got that responsibility. If somebody comes back around on that side, that's his man. That's his responsibility. So he's doing his job. And then you've got Daquan just screaming upfield. Also, you get a bad block on the outside from Jeff Wilson. He doesn't really do anything to affect Shaq. He could have pushed him inside a little bit more. And then Tremaine flows over the top. Marlowe over the top as well. Good help defense again. What the Bills do in coverage is tied to how they play the run with their linebackers, with their front. So being able to see those pieces is hugely important for this upcoming matchup. And again, wanted to give some flowers along the way. Next play for the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to highlight Greg Rousseau and Matt Milano here. So you're going to get a creeper pressure here from the Buffalo Bills. Now, I use these phrases all the time. I think I've explained it a bunch, but just in case I haven't, because we're going to dive into two of them right now, and I do think it'll be important for this upcoming game as it was against Miami. Simulated and creeper pressures. So the only difference between a simulated pressure and a creeper pressure is that a simulated pressure shows pressure pre-snap. Now, so that's the difference between a simulated and a creeper, right? Simulated pressure shows pressure pre-snap. And what a simulated pressure is, it's a safe pressure. It gives the look and feel of a blitz, but it's not a blitz. A simulated pressure is a four-man rush that brings a linebacker or a defensive back on a rush in exchange for dropping a defensive lineman into coverage. So you could bring a linebacker and drop an edge. You could bring two linebackers, drop your two defensive tackles, any combination you want. Just as long as you're basically dropping any traditional defensive lineman for every one linebacker or defensive back that's rushing. And again, you're still just rushing four. So this means as a defense, you can use a simulated pressure or a creeper pressure. Again, a creeper is the same as a simulated, except you're not showing it pre-snap. You can use these and still be able to drop 7 into coverage to defend the pass, which is huge in today's NFL because it's minimal risk, minimal cost. Some of the benefits of them, you can create the illusion of a blitz with just a four-man rush. You don't have to sell out in order to get to the quarterback. You can play multiple coverage schemes behind them because you still have 7 dropping into coverage. And you also have the potential to dictate the kind of pressure, the kind of protection you're going to be getting from the offense, because the offense has to set its protections. Who's responsible for blocking who? Are they using a full slide, a half slide? Are they going 5-0? Are they manning up? And when you show pressure, each person that's showing pressure has to be accounted for by the offense. So depending on how many you show or what kind of look you show, you can force an offense to be like, we have to keep a running back in. We have to keep a tight end in order to handle all this pressure. And then you drop out and you only bring 4. At the worst for your defense, you just made them keep in an extra body that now is not out into the route distribution. So now you have the potential to have even further numbers advantage into coverage. So you have the opportunity there, in addition to just causing havoc in terms of them figuring out who to pick up, who's actually rushing, who's dropping into coverage, how was our protection plan pre-snap, how is it compromised now post-snap. A lot of benefits, and all the benefits basically of a blitz or a pressure for a defense, with the added benefit of still being able to drop 7 defenders in the coverage. The downside is, of course, you are dropping non-coverage players into coverage. So you are taking a defensive end or an edge or a defensive tackle and dropping them into coverage, and they have to function and live in that space, which can be potentially negative. So that's simulated pressures and creepers. Again, everything I just said applies to both. The only difference between a simulated and a creeper is that a creeper pressure doesn't show pressure pre-snap, and a simulated pressure does. So on this snap here, what we have from Mr. Matt Milano, we have a creeper pressure from the Buffalo Bills. So if you're looking, you've got your 4 down lineman, and you've got Matt Milano here in an off-ball position. Matt Milano is not showing pressure. He's lined up in an off-ball spot. Could be lined up right over the slot receiver. Maybe he's covering him. Maybe he's going to drop to the flat. Maybe he's going to drop into the hook curls. Maybe this is quarters. Maybe it's cover 2. Maybe it ends up being cover 3. There's a multitude of possibilities you can get. Watch what happens on the snap. So I've got Rousseau and Milano highlighted for a reason, because on the snap, Greg Rousseau, I'm going to go in slow motion, is going to drop off, and Matt Milano is going to be the one to rush. So before we get to the good part of it, so watch this tackle right here. Mr. Hunt, normally a right guard, put in a right tackle in this position. On this play, watch him. He drops back, expecting to pass protect. He steps out. You literally see him take a 45-degree set and be like, okay, I'm blocking Greg Rousseau. Here I go. And he has nobody. You have now wasted this person. He is picking up no one. And the bonus is now you're dropping. So you're dropping Greg Rousseau into coverage to potentially take away a hot or an underneath route. But at the very least, you've wasted an offensive lineman in the protection, right? So if you look at the rest of the protection grouping here, the Dolphins are just blocking with their offensive line. So because they've wasted an offensive lineman, they now only have 4 blockers to deal with 1, 2, 3, 4 rushers for the Buffalo Bills. So now you've got nothing but one-on-one opportunities. Hunt is going to come back inside and try and help out, but all they can do is help out the right guard here. And with the rush pattern from the Bills on the other side, they have nothing but one-on-one opportunities on the other side. Matt Milano gets in the backfield, and he sacks Skylar Thompson. Let's look at it from this angle. Again, just the 5-man protection from the Dolphins. Going to get the motion from Ahmed and get the snap. Boom. Hunt kicks out. Again, he's expecting to take Rousseau. Rousseau doesn't rush, right? So now you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 Dolphins blockers for 1, 2, 3, 4 Bills rushers. Again, Hunt squeezes down to help out his right guard, so he'll help on Ilianku. But again, that still means one-on-one, one-on-one, one-on-one. And then you hope somebody can win. And the person who wins in this regard is Matt Milano. He's up against a practice squad guard who was called up for this game. Watch the move here from Matt Milano. Watch the burst. Watch the athleticism. Just steps inside. Quick, almost like a jump cut, like a running back. Gets inside. Then has the strength to bring down, fight through. Brings down Skylar Thompson for the sack. Again, let's watch it from a simulated pressure, creeper pressure perspective. Rousseau on the line, drops out. Milano comes. So again, this functioned like a blitz, right? You had a pressure generated from confusion and causing miscommunication up front, but you're still only rushing 4. So the Bills still have 7 into coverage. Rousseau doesn't do too bad here, especially when you're that big and tall and have the wingspan that he does. You can just kind of exist and live there and be a deterrent just because of how big you are. But the Bills were able to dictate protection here. They wasted Miami's right tackle, created one-on-ones on the other side, and got a sack. Again, this is what they had to do in this game to generate pressure because the front 4 wasn't getting it done consistently. I was down on the front 4 from a pass rush perspective when the Bills-Dolphins game ended. When I went back and watched the tape, I felt a bit better, but I still don't feel holistically confident going into this game. I think the Bills are going to have to use simulated pressures and creeper pressures in order to generate pass rush or consistent pass rush or pressure on Joe Burrow. Again, I'll play it one more time so you folks can see it. Watch Rousseau drop out. Milano goes. Fantastic. Baltimore did this a lot this past week. In addition to, using 3-man rushes, they really did a good job disguising things and confusing the Bengals offensive line. Again, what's also a nice piece with this one, you have to force the offensive line to communicate. You have to force them to adjust and make plays. And when you've got a bunch of backup offensive linemen, maybe the chemistry isn't there, maybe the talent level isn't there, maybe the awareness isn't there. You're putting more onto their plate and you're taxing them more mentally and physically. And that's a good thing when you're taxing your opponent. Let's go to another clip here. This play. This one is going to be a Tremaine Edmunds pressure. I'm going to show it from the end zone angle because it shows better. Again, simulated pressures, creeper pressures. You're dropping a traditional defensive lineman. You're bringing a non-traditional rusher like you're going to get on this play. Again, this one is a creeper. Why? AJ Epinesa is going to drop out. He's not going that far. I just, exaggerate a little bit on the stick. He's going to drop out, and Tremaine Edmunds is going to come through. So because Edmunds is not showing pressure pre-snap, that's a creeper. If Edmunds was lined up right here in one of the gaps and he came and Epinesa dropped out, then it would be a simulated pressure. You hear people talk about simulated pressures all the time. Like I heard it a ton during the national championship game between Georgia and TCU. And when it was being talked about, they weren't actually running simulated pressures. So that's a conversation for another time, but I digress. Watch Mr. AJ Epinesa drop. Mr. Tremaine Edmunds is going to blitz. Again, we get more pressure. Armstead stepped out. Epinesa doesn't come. So, okay, they focus on that side. Edmunds comes scot-free up the middle. Flushes Skylar Thompson. Jones takes a good angle. Boom. Let's watch it from this angle, or maybe Basham took the angle. So again, I got Epinesa highlighted on the right. He's going to drop out. Edmunds is going to blitz. We'll watch it in slow-mo. You get the motion from Jeff Wilson. Edmunds is yet to declare. So his poor right guard, he's trying to diagnose what he's seeing. Armstead sees that Epinesa's out, so he's like, okay, cool. Let me help down on Ed Oliver. But Edmunds is blitzed because, again, it's coming from the second level and it wasn't shown pre-snap. The guard doesn't know that he's rushing. And Edmunds is so fast and bursty that he gets through the line before that guard can even make a play. Again, we'll watch from the sideline angle. He looks, watch this guard right here again. Right here. Watch his head as he's trying to survey everything that's going on. He comes out, he looks, he stares at Edmunds, he looks at Basham, and then he comes back to Edmunds. But again, Edmunds is so fast and athletic and has long strides. He just gets there too fast. Let's watch it in real time. Bang. So fast coming from the second level. He's already through. And then he's got the ability, right, to retrace. Edmunds gets through and he doesn't get Thompson, but watch his ability to just stop. Like, okay, let me get back on track and go right after him. Bills take a good angle. Also, Bills do a good job in coverage here. Watch them clamp down on everything. Watch Taron Johnson see that Thompson is going to escape. Just comes forward, clamps down. Good coverage on the back end. Nowhere to go. But again, another creeper pressure. AJ Epinesa drops. Tremaine Edmunds blitzes. He's not showing a pre-snap. You can actually even see Milano and Edmunds communicating with each other right here. Edmunds is almost pointing to himself a little bit, saying, I'm going. Milano takes a spot. That's also the piece too, right? Milano takes Edmunds a spot, and Epinesa drops to where Milano was. So again, you have a similar coverage pattern to what you would have had if you just brought the 4 down defensive linemen and left Milano and Edmunds. But it's a nice little changeup, nice little game. You keep the offensive linemen on their toes. If they don't make the right read, if they don't have the right call pre-snap, if they don't have the right communication, if they don't have the right execution, you create a free runner, or you create a one-on-one opportunity and hope your guy can win. Or in this case, again, you created a free runner right down the pipe, right as Skylar Thompson flushes them from the pocket. On the previous one we showed, it created a one-on-one that Matt Milano was able to win. So again, like I mentioned, a lot of potential advantages in the toolbox.